today we will be discussing about pH and its importance. Okay, so what is pH? pH is nothing but it is a scale, okay, used to measure the hydrogen ion concentration of a solution. Okay, scale used to measure the hydrogen ion concentration of a solution. Okay, pH is actually a number which indicates whether a solution is acid or a base or a neutral substance. It was introduced by the scientist Sorensen. Okay, and its value ranges from 0 to 14. Okay, in the word P stands for potence, which means power in German language, and H stands for hydrogen. Now let us see how pH is different for different types of solutions. Okay, or how can we come to know the nature of the solution depending upon the pH values. Okay, the pH of a neutral solution is pH of a neutral solution. Example, water. Okay, neutral solution is 7. And the values below 7, that is from 0 to 7, such type of substances are acidic in nature. Okay, so for acids or acidic solutions, the pH is from 0 to 7, and for bases or basic solutions, the pH is from 7 to 14. Okay, so pH is nothing but the universal indicator. It can be used for both acid solutions as well as basic solutions. Generally we will be using red litmus for the basic solutions, okay, and the blue litmus for the acidic solutions. If the blue litmus turns red, we say that the substance is an acid. If the red litmus turns to blue, then the substance is a base. So instead of using two different litmus papers, we can use the universal indicator or the pH strip. This strip will be showing different color changes for both the acidic solutions, basic solutions as well as the neutral solutions. Okay, and this apart from that, the pH indicator or the universal indicator will be letting us know the strength of the acid or the base. Whether the acid is strong or the weak, we will come to know by the use of the universal indicator. Similarly, the base is strong or a weak base, that also can be known from the universal indicator. Okay, so let us see the different colors exhibited by the universal indicator, okay, by which we will come to know whether it is a strong acid or a weak acid or a neutral substance or a weak base or a strong base. Let us see the colors. So, generally let us write the pH values will be ranging from 0 to 14, right? So, we will write in this way. So, from 0 to 3, the substances are strong acids. Okay, from 3 to 7, the substances are weak acids. And the substance whose ever pH value is 7, that is a neutral substance. Okay, from 7 to 10, the substance is a weak base. Okay, from 10 to 14, the substance is a strong base. Okay, this is how we will come to know, and we will see the color changes. Okay, from 0 to 3, the color of the strong acids is red in color. Okay, so the color of the pH, whenever pH strip, whenever it is dipped in an acidic solution, if it turns to red in color, we say that it is a strong acid. Okay, sorry, this is red in color. Whereas the substances whose pH value ranges from 3 to 7, they are weak acids and their color will be from orangish red. Okay, orangish red, then it turns to a greenish yellow. Okay, for the pH values of 4 and 5, for the values of 4, 5, 6, okay, it is the values of 5, 6, it is greenish yellow, and the value of for the value of 4, it is a weak acid. Okay, and whereas for the neutral substance, the color of the pH strip is green in color. Right? Next, for the weak bases, that is the pH value ranges from 7 to 10, the color of the pH strip is blue in color. Okay, and for the strong bases, the pH value is from 10 to 14, it ranges from 10 to 14, and the color is dark blue, or it also appears as black. So let me repeat. pH strip is used to identify whether a substance is an acid, base or a neutral substance. So whenever it is dipped in a solution, it gives a variety of colors. Depending upon the color, we will be able to predict whether the substance is a strong acid or a strong base or a weak acid or a weak base or a neutral substance. Okay, whenever you are dipping the pH strip in the solution, if the color changes to red, it is a strong acid. If the color of the pH strip changes to orangish red, then the substance is a weak acid and its pH would be around 4. Okay, and if the color changes about greenish yellow, the pH would be 5 to 6. Okay, and the substance is a weak acid. If the color is green in color, okay, whenever the pH strip changes into green in color, then the substance is a neutral substance. Okay, similarly, whenever the pH strip is dipped in a solution, if the color of the strip changes to blue color, it is a weak base and the pH would be around 8 to 10. Okay, and when the color changes to dark blue or black, the pH would be from 10 to 14 and the substance is a strong base. So this is about the pH. So pH is very, very important because all the physiological activities occur at a particular pH. Okay, the pH of the body has to be maintained at 7. This is called as the physiological pH. Okay, and let us see the importance of pH. pH is important because if the pH of the mouth falls below 5.5, it results in tooth decay. Okay? Tooth decay occurs whenever the pH of the mouth falls below 5.5. Okay? What is teeth made up of? It is made up of enamel, that is further made up of calcium phosphate. Okay? Whenever enamel is the hardest substance of the body, it doesn't dissolve in the water. But whenever the pH of the mouth changes, that is it becomes acidic, the pH is acidic, then the tooth enamel dissolves and it results in the tooth decay. So where are the acids coming into the mouth? They are produced by the microorganisms whenever the food particles are stuck in between the teeth. Okay? So in order to prevent the tooth decay, we have to brush the teeth after a meal. So tooth decay occurs if the pH is less than 5.5. Okay? Next, we will see acid rains. So, if the pH of the rainwater is below 5.6, then we say that the rain is an acid rain. Okay? So, what happens if the rainwater is acidic in nature? The water will finally reach into the water bodies. In the water bodies, there are the aquatic organisms. Okay? So, these aquatic organisms will find it difficult to lead a life in the acidic water. Okay? So, this is about the acidic rain. Apart from that, the another important use of pH is that pH of the soil. Soil is our life because from the soil we obtain so many things. Okay, apart as well as we will see the growth of the plants. If there are no plants, life would not be possible to occur. Okay, so in order for the proper growth of the plants, pH has to be maintained. Plants require a specific pH for their growth. Okay, the plants do not want more acidic conditions, neither they need the more basic conditions. Slightly acidic and slightly basic. It depends. Okay, and actually plants to grow properly, they require the organic manure. So whenever the soil is rich in organic content, its pH would be acidic. Okay, as well as to increase the production of plants, to increase the growth of the plants, we will be using the fertilizers. So because of excessive use of fertilizers, the pH of the soil changes, it turns acidic. Okay, therefore to treat this acidic soil, farmers will be generally adding calcium oxide, that is quicklime, to the soil. Okay, calcium oxide is added to the soil. So this adding of calcium oxide to the soil is called as liming of the soil, and it is done to neutralize the acids present in the soil. Okay. Next, even pH is used as the defense mechanism. Okay, by the plants as well as the animals. For example, we might have seen the sting of an honeybee, sting of a wasp, sting of the nettle plants. Okay, all these organisms are using pH only. Actually, they will be using the substances which are either acids or the bases. Okay. For example, if we see the sting of an honeybee, sting of a honeybee is acidic. Okay, because it induces methanoic acid, whereas the sting of a wasp is basic. It induces a base. And the sting of the nettle plant is also acidic. Okay, so whenever the sting is an acid, we have to use a base to treat that. And if the sting is basic, we have to use an acid, mild acid to treat it. Okay. I hope you have understood. We have seen the importance of pH. Okay, it is responsible for the tooth decay. Okay, in order to prevent tooth decay, we have to brush the teeth twice. Okay, or generally after the meal we have to brush it. So that is because the acids are responsible for the tooth decay. The nature of the toothpaste is basic in nature. Okay, and apart from that, one more thing is excessive production of acid. So whenever we overeat, okay, large amount of HCl is produced in the body to digest it. So that results in the irritation or the pain. So in order to treat that, we have to use a mild base like sodium bicarbonate or the baking soda to treat acidity. Okay, the substances used to treat acidity are called as antacids. So another example of an antacid is milk of magnesia, that is nothing but magnesium hydroxide. So now we have come to know that magnesium hydroxide or sodium bicarbonate, which is a weak base, can be used as an antacid. Okay, next we will be seeing the family of salts. Okay. So what it is, let us see. Let us observe few salts like KCl, NaCl, magnesium chloride, potassium chloride, sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, calcium chloride, aluminium chloride. So in all these, the common ion is the chloride ion, or chlorine is common among them. So all these salts are said to belong to the chloride family. Okay, these are the salts of chloride family. Now let us observe another set of salts, that is sodium sulfate, calcium sulfate, magnesium sulfate, aluminium sulfate. So all these salts are having sulfate as the common ion. So all these salts belong to the sulfate family. Okay, sulfate family. Salts of sulfate family we can call it as. So a set of salts which will be having either a cation as common or the anion as common, then that salt is said to be belonging to that particular family. For example, here all these salts are having chloride as the common ion. So we say that these are the salts of chloride family. Whereas in this particular case, all these salts are having sulfate as the common ion. So these are the salts of sulfate family. Okay, so first let us see what is a salt. Already we have discussed that salts are formed when an acid reacts with a base. Okay, salts are nothing but the ionic compounds when an acid reacts with a base. So let us see few salts. So let us deal with the common salt. the table salt. Okay. Sodium chloride, this is obtained just like mining the coal. How we will mine the coal? Even this can be obtained from the soil. That salt is called as rock salt, and it appears brown in color due to the presence of impurities. As well as sodium chloride can be prepared by the evaporation of seawater. Seawater, it contains large amount of salt dissolved in it. So whenever the seawater is subjected to evaporation, it results in the formation of salt. Salts will be left behind. Okay. Next, sodium chloride solution in water, okay, or aqueous sodium chloride solution is called as brine. So what is brine? Aqueous sodium chloride solution is called as brine, and whenever this is electrolyzed, so aqueous in the sense it will be having water. Okay, so whenever electricity is passed through the brine, okay, we will be getting sodium hydroxide, hydrogen and chlorine as the products. Okay, chlorine is obtained at the anode and hydrogen is obtained at the cathode. Okay, chlorine is obtained at the anode, hydrogen is obtained at the cathode, and the major product is sodium hydroxide. Okay, and let us see the importance of these products. Sodium hydroxide is the major product, whereas hydrogen and chlorine, they are called as the byproducts. Okay, though they are byproducts, they are of great importance. Hence, these byproducts are also used. Okay, we have to use them. So let us see what are the uses of these. So is it clear what is brine? Aqueous solution of sodium chloride is called as brine. Whenever brine is electrolyzed, we will be getting sodium hydroxide, hydrogen and chlorine, and because of the products hydrogen, chlorine and the base, that is sodium hydroxide, this process is called as chlor-alkali process. Okay, electrolysis of brine is called as chlor-alkali process. So let us see the uses of these substances. So uses of NaOH. Okay, NaOH, it is used for degreasing the metals. It is used in the paper industry. It is used for the production of artificial fibers. As well as in the production of soap. Okay. Next, uses of chlorine. It is used to manufacture chlorofluorocarbons, okay, and in the manufacture of PVC, that is polyvinyl chloride, PVC pipes, okay. It is also used as a disinfectant, okay, in the treatment of water and swimming pools, treatment of water, drinking water, as well as in the treatment of the swimming pools. Okay. Next we will see the uses of hydrogen. Hydrogen is used as a fuel. So we also call it as hydrogen fuel economy. Okay, hydrogen, it is a gas which undergoes combustion and produces large amount of heat. therefore it can be used as a fuel, and it is used for the production of ammonia production, NH3 production, as well as it is used for the preparation of the fertilizers. Okay, as well as for the preparation of margarine. Actually, the liquids, oils are, they undergo oxidation process easily. So in order to prevent that, we will be hydrogenating the oils. That process is called as hydrogenation of oils, and because of hydrogenation of oils, we will be getting the substance that is called as margarine. And margarine is, it adds taste to the food, as well as it can be stored for a long time. It has a long shelf life. Okay. Are we there?